All right, Steeler fans, welcome back. It's time for another mailbag segment. In case you don't know how this works, it's simple. On Tuesday morning, you have to follow me, or not. Yeah, you don't even have to follow me. You just have to find me on Twitter and X at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. I put out the tweet, you respond, I answer the question live here on Wednesday. But before we do this and get this thing started, let me do a quick call to action. If you follow us on Spotify, thank you. If you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, thank you. I don't want you to miss anything on the Steel Curtain Network. Not just my Let's Ride podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but also when you're talking about shows like Today at Noon, the Steel City Insider with Jim Wexell and Jeremy Ritz. You're going to have things like the Scobro Show. If you missed the Here We Go Steelers show with Coach KT Smith and Brian Davis, or Bad Language with Brian, or Dave Schofield's Stat Geek podcast, you don't want to miss anything. So if you find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, subscribe, follow, because you don't want to miss any of it. All right, let's get this show on the road with the mailbag. Let's start with Believers. So the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. With the 2026 NFL draft headed to Pittsburgh, I plan on, here are the options, being in the crowd, partying with SCN, watching the draft from home, or not interested in the draft. I voted partying with SCN. That was obvious. It's a 50-50 split between that and watching the draft from home. It was interesting, though, that Bagels and Bong Rips, who's a common person in the mailbag segment, said, I'm going to plan to be out of town that weekend. Being in a throng of 100,000 people is not very appetizing. So those people that live in Pittsburgh and in the area, I get it. I totally get it. Let's go to Jeff Coons. He said, hi, Jeff. Building on your recent grilling thoughts topic, which rookie would surprise you most if they didn't start in September? I have my answer. I'd love to hear yours. So, which rookie would I be surprised? Would surprise me the most? It would be Zach Frazier. If Zach Frazier doesn't start, I would be stunned, because that means that they are going to throw out Nate Herbig probably as the Steelers starting center. That doesn't sit well with me. So that's going to go, that'll be my guess in that regard. Let's go to Bagels and Bong Rips. He asked a question. I'd love to have Juju Smith-Schuster back if we could get him for a steal, but I'm wondering if he genuinely would be able to handle being the wide receiver 3 or depth. What do you think? I think that Juju Smith-Schuster, unlike Chase Claypool, has definitely been able to accept his current role. And I think he realizes that his role now, maybe at one point in his career, back when he was having some tremendous seasons with the Steelers, he felt that he was a wide receiver 1. I don't think he could think that right now. My concern about Juju, if he wants to come back, is not about if he would handle being a wide receiver 3. It is he healthy enough to be a wide receiver 3? Juju Smith-Schuster's knees are not good. They continue to be an issue. He was banged up again last year. I think that this is a guy that if he's healthy, yeah, let's kick the tires. If he's not and they have concerns, no. The last thing you want to do is bring in someone who doesn't have the most important ability, which is availability. Let's go to Riek and Roth. With the new proposition regarding offseason OTA scheduling, does it help or hurt rookies more? Less time, quote unquote, going through the motions early in the offseason might hurt transition acclimation for players, especially quarterbacks. This was something we spoke about on our Slack channel. And I think that rookie minicamp will remain. I'm sure that they will build in something to help rookies try and get acclimated to life in the NFL. It's just not going to be the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 at that time. They'll still be in there early. They'll still go through the workouts. They'll still get themselves ready. I don't think it's going to be a big of an issue as a lot of people think, but it has to get passed too. Let's not forget that. It's something that needs to be collectively agreed upon with both the teams, the owners, and the players. All right, let's go to RJ McCollum. He said, all right, here's a tough question. Oklahoma Joe's the new Pittsburgh Steelers. What smokers and grills are playing where? I'll tell you what, it's a great way to me for RJ. Thank you for me plugging Oklahoma Joe's Grills. They hooked me up with the Bandera vertical smoker, which is awesome. I use the Highland offset smoker, and I also use it as a grill. So, yeah, I don't know. Their Tahoma is probably their quarterback. That grill's crazy. And you can go there, go to their website, check out all of their stuff, even their accessories. Use the code RideOrDie10 to save yourself 10%. And RJ also continued, I'm calling it now. CA3 is wide receiver 2 this year. Saw a really cool clip from Calvin Austin III, and he said how really he always takes a walk-on mindset no matter where he goes. He goes, they didn't promise me anything, but it wouldn't have mattered if they did promise me something. So in other words, if the Steelers would have said, listen, Calvin, we're going to bring in all these duplicate U's and Quez Watkins and Scotty Miller, but you have a job here no matter what. He said it doesn't matter. He's always going to take that approach. He's always going to say, I'm going to earn it. And I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go to Justin Accord. Jeff, last year, we had the worst offensive coordinator in the history of, well, ever. We upgraded our roster significantly and finally have a competent offensive coordinator. The league better watch out. I'm going to withhold judgment and say, like, oh, they have a competent offensive coordinator now because I want to see him do it with Pittsburgh. He did it with Tennessee, not so much in Atlanta. Let's see him do it with Pittsburgh before I go screaming from the mountaintop. So we have a competent OC. It's been a while. Tom East said, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the NFLPA idea about getting rid of OTAs? I personally feel they are just a tool for the media to overhype things like contracts, etc. Last question is, would you support a longer training camp? I think it makes sense when you look at it from a calendar perspective. So, okay, let's walk through this. Let me make it make sense for everyone. Right now, NFL draft, end of April, early May. A little bit of a break. Schedule gets released. OTAs happen end of May, going into June. OTAs, mandatory minicamp, are done. So you have a break. The rest of June, about half of July, and you report to training camp. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't add up. That doesn't equate in the best product possible. So what I would suggest, and what the NFLPA is trying to do, they're saying schedule in early May or mid-May, nothing until towards the end of June. So let's take the lulls, put them together. You have a break. The end of June, players report to camp. Camp, though, is not going to be, all right, let's get down to the Latrobe and let's start cracking skulls. No, it's going to be phase 1 of like OTAs. They report, they work out, they're moving around, they're doing, football type stuff. Phase 2, phase 3 is when they're starting to really ramp it up. They're doing more team type stuff. And then that's when they're getting into full contact after phase 3. So in other words, when you think about it in this context, what would be missing the most? There would be no mandatory minicamp, which then brings up the question that I'm just thinking about now as I go through this verbally. What would be, if they do this, the voluntary versus mandatory for players? OTAs are voluntary. Mandatory minicamp is, well, mandatory. So this will be interesting. This will be interesting. I would be okay with just take the break, get it out of the way after the draft. Then in June, we can start, and it's just going to completely build up and go right into camp as we know it. I'd be for it. Okay, let's go to SSJ. With the new draft picks at O-line, A, does everyone start? And then B, does Najee have the potential to lead the league in rushing in a contract year? All right, let's go to A first. Does everyone start? The first 2, yes. The third, no. So I think that Troy Fautanu eventually starts a tackle, and Zach Frazier starts week 1 as it pertains to center. Mason McCormick, I don't think starts barring injury. I just don't think he's there yet. B, does Najee Harris have the potential to lead the league in rushing? He has the potential, but you have to remember that with Jaylen Warren in the mix, it's going to take away carries and yardage for Najee. So to lead the league in rushing, I feel like you have to be the bell cow. I'm going to get the ball, not just the majority of the time, all the time, unless I need a break or if you have a third down back. The Steelers are going to start infusing Jaylen Warren, Cordero Patterson. I think it's smart what the Steelers are doing, but nonetheless, I don't see Najee leading the league in rushing, even in a contract year. All right, 2 more questions. Ed Holinsky, most competitive position battle during Steelers training camp will be, and he leaves it blank. All right, I'm going to break this down offense and defense because I think that you have to separate the two. On offense, when I'm thinking about position battles, I don't think there's going to be a huge competition at quarterback. I wish there was. I wish it was an open competition. I don't think it's going to be. So I'm not going to go quarterback. I actually think it's going to be a tackle. I think it's going to be Troy Falatanu versus Dan Moore and at left tackle. That's, I think, the most competitive position battle on the Steelers roster, even more so than wide receiver 2/3. Then you look on the defensive side. What's the most competitive battle there? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because there's a lot of different positions we could go for. You look at the depth on the team. You look at like cornerback, there's not a lot of depth. I'm actually going to go inside linebacker. Where does Peyton Wilson, that number 3 inside linebacker, where does that guy fall compared to like a Mark Robinson, who's been there, done that for a while now, or with Cole Holcomb whenever he's deemed healthy? That inside linebacker position of depth is going to be important. And let's finish this up as we should with Steelers fan 69. He said, Carl, he always does the humor. In case you're a first time listener, he always has jokes. Karl Marx is an historically famous figure, but did you know that his sister, Anya, was a pioneer in track and field? They still honor today at the start of every race by mentioning her name, Anya Marx. Very good. And then last one, my wife tells me I have 2 major faults. I don't listen and something else. I love those. Love them. I always share them with my family. They get a kick out of them. They often roll their eyes. If your family rolls your eyes at a joke, congratulations. You have yourself a good dad joke. I want to finish this show with a quick message that today, Wednesday, is a very important day in our household. Although she does not want to admit it, today's my wife's birthday. My wife, I'm not going to say how old she'll be. It's the same age as me. In case you don't know, now you know. But my wife, Nicole, is a saint. She puts up with a lot of my crap. This job can be really weird and awkward in terms of the times that I have to work are really different. Sometimes I have to work early in the morning. Sometimes I have to work late. Sometimes it's all day. And so she is very patient. And I do appreciate everything that she does. She is the best mom I could ever ask for our 5 children. She's the best. I love her. There's a reason why I married her. And so to my wife, Nicole, happy birthday. I love you. Again, like I always say, I love you more than you'll ever know. And always remember that. Not that you're going to hear this because she doesn't listen to my podcast anyways, but still, happy birthday to my wife. And that does it. So listen, make sure you're on the lookout for all of our content at steelcurtainnetwork.com. That's right. We have a website, steelcurtainnetwork.com. Give us a check and make sure you're checking out all of our podcasts and all of our platforms. Find us on YouTube, Steel Curtain Network. We have Coach KT Smith's film room breakdowns there. We got a new one coming out today or tomorrow about the duo offensive run play. Good stuff. You don't want to miss those. And also some of these segments that I do for Let's Ride get put onto that YouTube channel as well. All of our live shows are there. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, just by searching Steel Curtain Network. That does it for me. I'll be back on Friday. Jeremy Jerome Betts will be on with me for an All Bets Are Off segment. In the meantime, you know how we finish it out. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.